You and I are going wine shopping together. You can find a sensational bottle of wine for criminally low prices. Let's get started exploring and tasting new wines together. My beautiful wine friends, I was so excited when I found this bottle at my local Trader Joe's because this is a benchmark producer for the grape that we're going to talk about today. And this grape doesn't get a lot of love, it doesn't always get a lot of respect. I think that most people don't believe that it can be made into a serious wine or that it's made in a very specific style only, and that is not the case, and you'll find that when you get to these benchmark producers and see what the grape is capable of. Let's dive in and learn about this grape. It grows all over the world, but it's most famously grown in the United States in California. I'm talking about Zinfandel. Zinfandel is originally from Croatia, where it is known as both Tribidrog and also Sommelier Castellanski. Please forgive me if I butchered that pronunciation. It subsequently spread across Europe to Austria, and in 1829, the vine was imported to the US from the Austrian Imperial Nursery in Vienna by Long Island horticulturist George Gibbs. He took it to Boston, and within a few years, it had acquired names like Zinfandel and Zinfandel by the New England growers. In 1849, Zinfandel arrives in California along with the gold rush. Many of those who participated in the gold rush turned to agriculture, and Zinfandel vines were included in an important consignment that arrived in 1852. By 1859, the grape was grown in Napa, Sonoma, and the Sierra foothills. By the 1880s, Zinfandel has taken a firm hold of the California wine industry, in part due to its ability to produce large quantities of wine. This also makes it the grape of choice for home winemakers during the Prohibition a few decades later. Through the early 20th century, Zinfandel began to be considered a common grape. Most producers were growing Zinfandel in unsuitably hot sites with incredibly high yields, making unspectacular, high-alcohol table wine with little balance or complexity. By the middle of the 20th century, the story of Zinfandel's journey to the United States had been lost. As late as the 1970s and 1980s, wine writers were describing Zinfandel as California's original, grown nowhere else, and California's own red grape. In 1972, Bob Trinchero of Sutter Home creates the medium-sweet white Zinfandel, which is an immediate success and leads to an increase in Zinfandel plantings, which had been thinning. White Zinfandel still accounts for 9.9% of US wine sales by volume, 6 times more than red Zinfandel. So the vast majority of Zinfandel plantings lie in California, with almost 48,000 acres as of 2012. But you'll find it in a lot of other places in the world too. Under the name Primitivo, Zinfandel is grown in Italy, predominantly in the region of Apulia. In the 1870s, that was when the first documented use of the word Primitivo appears in Italian government publications. In the 1990s, after DNA testing, the grape was discovered to be genetically identical to Zinfandel. The Italian name refers to the early ripening nature of the grape, and it's estimated to be Italy's 12th most planted grape varietal. There's also been a boom of Zinfandel plantings in its native land of Croatia. In 2001, there were only 22 vines of Sommelier Castellanski in Croatia. Again, so sorry for the pronunciation. By 2008, there were over 2,000. Zinfandel is also grown to a much more limited extent in warmer sites in other western US states, Baja California and Mexico, the Languedoc in France, Australia, and South Africa. Zinfandel is a very vigorous, black, thin-skinned grape that does well in climates that are warm but not overly hot. Zinfandel growers in hot climates can potentially burn or shrivel their grapes, leading to very high alcohol or hot wine. Berries grow in large, tight clusters, which can make the grapes particularly prone to bunch rot. It can produce juice with very high sugar content, which also contributes to potentially hot wine. And the fruit tends to ripen unevenly. In one bunch of Zinfandel grapes, you can have very underripe green grapes, perfectly ripe black grapes, and even some overripe raisin-like grapes. Some winemakers choose to vinify these diverse bunches, and other winemakers choose to make extensive passes through their vineyards, selecting specific bunches or even sometimes specific grapes to use for their wine. This highly laborious process can contribute to the price on some of these more expensive bottles of Zinfandel. It's produced in a wide range of styles in California. You've got the white Zinfandel, there's late harvest Zinfandel, there's even sparkling Zinfandel. And a lot of producers blend in small percentages of other varietals like Petit Syrah, which we're gonna find in our wine right here. So the style of a dry red Zin can vary greatly depending on the sites and cooler sites. You're gonna have much more restrained, structured expressions and richer, jammier expressions from warmer sites. When it comes to Zinfandel, you're gonna see on a lot of bottles the term old vines. Now, old vines has no legal definition, but it generally signifies that the wine came from vineyards that have been in continual production for at least 40 years and sometimes over 100. This is Ridge's Three Valleys Zinfandel blend from Sonoma County. Now, normally with their Zinfandels, you're gonna be seeing single site selection, so single vineyards. But in the case of Three Valleys, they're picking from specific parcels from a bunch of different vineyards. In the case of the 2021 vintage, from 10 different vineyards. It is 65% Zinfandel, 26% Petit Syrah, 5% Syrah, and then 4% Alicante Bouschet. The Petit Syrah, which you'll see added into the blend with a lot of the different Zinfandels, not just this bottling, varies from year to year depending on what the growing season was like. This is a pretty nice high boost of Petit Syrah in there, and the reason they do that is usually for color, power. Petit Syrah adds beautiful pigment and richness and kind of jammier fruit just to round it out in years when maybe Zinfandel didn't ripen quite as much and can be a little bit leaner and thinner. So yes, I got this bottle at Trader Joe's. It's $29.99. So yes, it's a little on the higher end as far as cost goes for our BYOB, but you're gonna find this bottle out there at other stores for a little bit more money. But the fact that this is being sold at Trader Joe's just makes it so much easier for you all to get to try this amazing producer. We have so much great Ridge content on Som TV because they are such an iconic producer. And they're producing these wines all over the Central Valley, Napa, Sonoma. The winery itself is located in Santa Cruz. So you get to see all of these different wonderful expressions and see what the Zinfandel grape is capable of. And they come in a wide range of prices, from the lower end ones to some of the higher end ones, like the Geyserville. Zinfandel is gonna be their, benchmark top tier. Zinfandel, a little pricier, but so good. This is nice. I opened this guy yesterday. Wanted to give him a little air. And it paid off. God, it smells so good. So you're getting a lot of kind of like pie fruit, if you will. And by that I mean it is this kind of baked quality. It's like blackberries, black plums, prunes, there's figs, dates, black cherry. There's cassis, there's licorice in there as well, black pepper. A lot of producers with Zinfandel use a good amount of new oak. Ridge is a little more restrained in their use there. So that's why you get some of those really hot Zinfandel sites where the grapes have ripened a lot and you have incredibly high alcohol, like over 15% in some cases. And there's a lot of new oak on it as well. So it's very vanilla, jammy, which is a style, and there's a time and a place for that style, and a lot of people enjoy it. I'm not knocking it, but I personally enjoy something with a little more restraint. I find it a bit easier to drink, personally. So I am getting some nice baking spices on here, clove, but it's very muted, a little vanilla. You've got some really lovely floral qualities in here, some pink and red rose petals, violets as well. It's so fun because each time I go in for a whiff, I get some new stuff. There's an herbaceousness to it as well, kind of like a rosemary or oregano, a little balsamic and olive in there. So fun. Absolutely lovely on the palate. Tannin, medium to medium plus tannin, definitely present, but not screeching. And then the acidity is medium plus, which I love. The body feels very medium. Alcohol is, I believe on this guy, 14.1%. Yeah, 14.1% alcohol. A little less baked fruit on the palate and a little more just very nice, ripe, juicy fruit. Again, all those berries. The licorice is lovely. I have a little cedar now coming in. Little tobacco, black pepper. The herbaceous notes as well are very lovely on the palate. Fantastic food pairing wine. I love it because it's not so heavy that it's going to overwhelm a ton of different food, but it has enough robustness to stand up to some meatier fall and winter dishes. This feels very like holiday wine to me, like a confit duck leg and like a cherry sauce because of these lovely cherry notes in here. Squash mushroom dishes for sure. This would be so good with like a mushroom risotto, butternut squash risotto. I'd love to try that with this. I also think this would be a fantastic Thanksgiving wine. If you have that cranberry sauce on the table with your turkey, feeling holiday wine to me, but it would still be a killer barbecue wine during the summer. I would drink this anytime. Also great for like pizza night. Crack this open for pizza night. It's amazing. Yes, again, it's a little on the higher end of the price spectrum, but if you're thinking of looking for a gift that you want to spend like a little more than you usually do on, this is still very reasonable without getting into the crazy price ranges. And these wines, like I mentioned before, constantly deliver, and I think over-deliver. So please give Zinfandel a chance if you haven't already, especially in the hands of a producer like Ridge who knows what they're doing. They respect the grape, and you can taste that in this finished wine. And turn on Somm TV, check out some really cool Ridge and Zinfandel content that we have on there. Crack open this beautiful Three Valleys Ridge with it and enjoy. And until our next wine, keep exploring and trying new wines. Cheers.